Hello, my name is Sasha O'Carroll. I'm the founder of Voters Politics. I just want to let you know that we are here at the Palestinian Embassy in Dublin, where we've just conducted an interview with the Palestinian ambassador to Ireland. Hello and welcome to Voters Politics. We are in the Embassy of the State of Palestine in Dublin today to conduct an interview with Ambassador Jilan Wahba Abdalmajid. Ambassador, thank you very much for having us.
Thank you, Sasha. Thank you very much.
It is a great honor to be hosted here in the Palestinian Embassy for Voters Politics' first ever interview. Ambassador, before we get into the history and politics of Palestine, the ties Palestine and Ireland share, and foremost, the ongoing Israelo-Palestinian conflict, I want to dive shortly into your life and career. Ambassador, I want to take you back to the beginning of your diplomatic career to introduce you. You joined the Palestinian Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Gaza Strip back in 1995 when you were 26 years old. 26? Nearly 3.5 years later, or 3 years later, at the end of 1997, you were posted in Cyprus, where you stayed for over 16 years.
Yes.
In 2013, you were stationed to Ireland as the deputy to the former head of the Palestinian Authority's mission, Ahmed Abdel-Razek, and you have headed that mission since 2020.
Yes.
Most recently, you have gained the title of Ambassador of the State of Palestine to Ireland back in December of 2024, when the Irish Republic recognized the State of Palestine. So you have quite an extensive diplomatic career. It spans over 30 years. And interestingly enough, all these countries that you have worked in share a commonality in that they are divided nations. How do you explain this? Is this just a coincidence? And what is your biggest takeaway from having these experiences?
First of all, thank you very much for having me today. And yes, it has been 30 years of diplomatic career, and as this is the career that when you started, your aim always to be an ambassador, and then who knows later on what kind of diplomatic position I might be in, but definitely that was the dream since I joined the ministry. Actually, it was called Ministry of Planning and International Cooperations, but a few years later, it's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Expatriate. No, it came by coincidence. It wasn't planned actually, to be in Cyprus or to be in Ireland, because they are divided, islands. It came. I got married, and my husband was working in the Embassy of Palestine in Cyprus, and then moving to Ireland. It was the ministry's. I finished the term in Cyprus and I have to move to another country, and that was their choice. So it wasn't meant to be in both countries, but I was so honored to serve in Cyprus and learn much about the politics in Cyprus, and be here in Ireland and learn much more about politics and how to be in such a place that fully support, not only by the people or by its people, but by its government as well. Cyprus as well, when I worked, it's not only the support of the Cypriots, but as well the government for so many years.
Ambassador, you grew up in Gaza. I want to ask about your childhood. Can you tell me about where you grew up and how your childhood in Gaza shaped who you are, what you represent today, and made you want to get involved in diplomacy?
I was born in Gaza and finished my high school, even though when I joined the American University in Cairo, I came back to Gaza to finish another, my bachelor degree in management and entrepreneurship in Al-Quds Open University. I worked while I was studying, but the first engagement when I was in Gaza after I finished high school was Birzeit University. And that was a turning point in my life because while I was in the university, just a few months after we started, the first intifada started, and the university was closed by Israeli orders. So I went back to Gaza and I stayed in Gaza for 1 year, knowing nothing what I will do next, until I decided that I will be going to Cairo to finish my university education. Um, like I lived in Gaza during the Israeli occupation. Like my experience there is very simple when I say that in its simplest way to say that seeing any soldier holding the gun threat your safety and security all the time, this is a nightmare life. This is not a normal life, and this is all the time put you under why this happened. At the age, like, when you're in younger age and see the soldiers around you with holding the soldiers, anytime he can just put his hand and shoot, that was not normal for any child to grow up. I remember that I participated in like, when we were in school in protest demonstrations, sometimes against the occupation during certain days of the year that considered for the Palestinian as very important. As well, like, Israel used the pellet or the live pellet, the rubber pellet or the live pellet, sometimes the gas tier. So I was exposed to all of these things during these protests because I participated in many of them, as all the students, knowing that there is an occupation to your country. I mean, you're not free in your country. This is in a simplest way for a very young childhood. And while I grew, we realized how we are controlled. Like, it's not as you live in a normal free country. You're occupied. The occupation is using every tools to suppress you, to oppress you, and at the end of the day, you don't have the freedom to speak. You don't have the freedom to live. You don't have the freedom to travel. The Israelis control even the air that you breathe. So this is in a simplest way as a child live under the occupation. And while you grow, like, you see how cruel is this occupation, that your rights to have a free country in your homeland is taken from you.
So would you say it's that experience of your childhood which made you want to then go into diplomacy and defend that cause for freedom, for right to self-determination?
Yeah, when we were young, like, listening to the news and see all the, like, our representative, the PLO at that time, engaging internationally, I used to say, like, I wanted to be part of this, like, like diplomatic team representing Palestine. I always thought about the United Nations as an organization and how the Palestinian could take their cause into this international platform to defend our right of self-determination and a free Palestine. Like following the news every day, this dream grow in my mind, and but sometimes, like, it's it wasn't possible because it was impossible for a Palestinian who live in Palestine to engage internationally with the PLO, like, representation. It was impossible. But after 1995, when the PLO signed the Oslo, like the Oslo Accord, and we have a diplomatic representation, after all, the dream become, like, it's very close. But even though there was a turning point when, like, the opportunity was open to me, and I just got it and take it to the maximum until now. Today, I'm the ambassador of Palestine.
So speaking of Ireland, you've been living in Ireland now for around 12 years,
Yeah.
12, 13 years. and I'm certain you've come to learn about Ireland's own history of political and military conflict with Great Britain. Looking at Ireland, at our complicated history, at Ireland's fight to gain independence, but also the violence that came with it and that has shaped our Ireland as a whole. What parallels do you or do Palestinians draw between Ireland and Palestine in your own fight for independence?
Listen, I mean, in Palestine before 1995, we like as a nation, as a country under occupation, the people struggle for their freedom, for their rights, for their just rights of self-determination, and this right is protected by the international law, by the UN Charter, uh, and that brought, like, several kind of way of struggle. Before 95, I mean, there were several Palestinian factions that they adopt several strategies, uh, and see that this kind of strategy or this kind of struggle that would lead us to a freedom. So Fatah movement, there was other other movements. They took several way of struggle. Part of it was the armed resistance, and as I said, the armed resistance was protected. By the time that we signed Oslo, I think the Palestinian, realized that, I mean, we wanted to take the path of peace and to commit ourselves and our people that this is the path that we wanted to gain, where we can gain our freedom, to engage internationally, to engage peacefully. I mean, to get our, to gain our freedom. And since we signed the agreement back in 1995, we respect our commitment to peace. And that time, we respect our engagements, our commitments, and we took this path, and we realized that as well, public resistance, the peaceful resistance, there are other ways of resistance that could lead to our like freedom. This is the path that the PLO chose after 1995, but there are other movements in Palestine or other factions that they still believe that armed resistance is the way.
Referring to Hamas.
I refer to Hamas, Al Jihad, and the People Front, PLFPI, and the Democratic Front. Like they thought that, however, they part of the PLO and they respect the agreements of the PLO, but they still believe in other way of resistance.
And so, what do you say then to the Palestinians, for example, in Gaza, or those who might do support Hamas, to these Palestinians that question that effectiveness of non-violent conflict resolution? Do you just tell them it could be worse, like we've seen in Gaza unfold? How do you respond to the anger of these Palestinians? How do you give them hope, even when faced with their desperation?
Listen, I mean, you cannot decide on the people. You cannot just tell the people you have to believe in this or you have to believe in that. People are different, and even in any country in the world, you cannot just brought the people into one kind of idea. People are different, groups are different, and you might find the people who believe in peace. You might find people believe in diplomacy. You will still find some people believe in armed resistance. You will find some people believe in different ways. So you cannot just put all the people. Why there is varieties? For example, here in Ireland, all the parties in Ireland, they are not acting on the same level of politics or thoughts or ideas. Every party has their own way of thinking about how they want to see Ireland, exactly how the Palestinians. I cannot say that this is right and this is wrong. But at the end of the day, I know that there will be one representation of the Palestinians, and I know that the PLO is the only legitimate representative of Palestine. PLO signed the agreements with Israel, and it was under the international communities, like guarantors for these agreements. The problem that after 30 years, we see that Israel didn't respect one day their commitments to the peaceful solution. And by the time that, since 1995 until now, we see that, I mean, the West Bank, that's supposed to be after 5 years with Gaza, including East Jerusalem, is a part of the 1967 borders, to find a final solution. That wasn't respected, and Israel, didn't meet any commitments over these, agreements. And today, you can say that Israel control not only 62% of the West Bank, but now with the most recent land registry and the measures approved by the Israeli cabinet, now they will have access to every meters of the West Bank.
We're going to touch on that, but in terms, because we were mentioning the Oslo Accords, in terms of a future peace process, and we were talking about your role here in Ireland and Irish history as well. What inspiration do you, Ambassador, draw from the peace process that unfolded here on our island? Is there similarities? Are there parallels that or events and ways in which it came about that you say, okay, we have to do it this way?
Listen, I mean, every country has its own situation. The only thing that really, I mean, matters for the Palestinian, that the Good Friday Agreement brought peace to Ireland. The lesson that as a Palestinian wanted to see from this is how that the goodwill of the Americans managed to put, a solution, a peaceful solution, and both parties agreed upon. So the goodwill made a difference. To be honest with you, over the years, we didn't see the same goodwill of the Americans towards, the negotiations between the Palestinians and Israelis, and they always tend to be with the Israelis and support the Israelis. This is a key factor of how the Good Friday Agreement was a successful and brought peace to Ireland.
And that's a key factor in any future peace process.
Yes, exactly. When you mediate in a good sense, in a good will, and you mediate without taking part or side.
We're going to come back to the topic of potential peace. We're going to come back to the United States as well. I mentioned violence and warfare earlier, and I'd like to talk about the genocide in Gaza, which is ongoing, as the ceasefire has been breached well over 1,000 times by Israel. Ambassador, can you describe and comment on the current situation as it stands on the ground in Gaza?
It's dire. It's very dangerous. And the only thing that all the time in my mind is the suffering of the people there. I mean, Israel destroyed 80%, 90%. It's destroyed Gaza.
Yeah.
Nothing left for the Palestinians.
At least 80% of buildings in the Gaza Strip have been damaged, and at least half
It's
destroyed.
not only this. I mean, I don't want to talk about the people who were killed or murdered by Israel, more than 75,000, or the injured, or the people who will live for life handicapped, the suffering of the people on the daily life after the fragile ceasefire, as you said, even hundreds of people killed after the ceasefire. It's no infrastructures, no schools, no hospitals, no universities, no prospect for horizon for a solution. This is what everyone now in Gaza witness. I mean, yes, we see initiatives, but we, the Gazan people, didn't see anything realistic that helped the people during this difficult time. I know that there are UN organizations, many international organizations working on the ground with the people. There are still, some initiative that bring back some kind of schooling or educations to be back. And however, by the way, even though during the war, there were still some universities and schooling were working online, if in certain places there were availability of not electricity, but the telecommunication most of the time were active during this time. And maybe you can get why the only infrastructure that was left, to be partially working is the telecommunications. So with all this misery, with all this unnormal life for the Gazans, we still see some lights of good um, good willings of the people to rebuild their own life. On a daily basis, we receive many videos, many initiatives of Palestinians are trying to build a normal life, even within the tent. You know that more than 900,000 Palestinians live in tents, through difficult times during winter time, summertime. So the tents are not really a good place for people to live. So with all these misery, we still see positive energy that come from the people that we want life, we wanted to live. So the Gazans, they don't think about politics at the minute as they think about a life. I want to have a safe life. I want my child to go to school. I want to be able to go to hospital. I wanted to get medicine when I'm sick. This is the very, I wanted to get a normal food to me and to my children to cope with the daily life. I want to have a road that I can walk. With all this rubble, I don't know how many millions ton of rubble Israel left in Gaza. So there are some small initiatives coming from the people just to bring back some kind of normal life. This morning I saw some children, their tents with lights, celebrating the first day of Ramadan. That gives me a sense that we are the Palestinian people, not only in Gaza, but in the West Bank, because the situation in West Bank as well is really dire and even more dangerous, that the people of Palestine, they deeply rooted in their homeland. They will never give up their rights. They will continue to defend their rights of self-determination, and they will not leave Gaza. They will not leave the West Bank. They will not leave East Jerusalem. We belong to Palestine. This is our homeland. And I don't think that any Palestinian would give up their rights.
With growing accusations of geopolitical double standards and the failure of enforcement mechanisms at the highest levels of global governance to prevent the genocide in Gaza from unfolding, what other options, what a hope do you believe Palestinians have facing this impunity towards Israel?
I know that the international community, in certain areas, they played the double standard. I think now we live in a very dangerous era of not only the double standards, but to fear of implementing the international law, or to respect. I don't want to use fear, but to respect the international law and implement it. Yesterday, there were 85 countries from around the world met in New York, issued a statement, reject the most recent cabinet measures taken by the Israeli cabinet, the measures taken by the Israeli cabinet in the past few days, to bring back the land registry. And this is I don't want to talk about it in details because it's really detailed thing, but the aim of this measures is to fully control the land in the West Bank. When I see 85 countries around the world, they rejected this. When I see statements from Ireland, from European countries, they reject this or they condemn these measures, it still give me a sense of there might be an implementation of these statements, and it will not stay as only lip service or ink on the papers. I still believe that the international community can take action to stop Israel. There are many means that the international community can take. Why they are not until now, I don't know. I mean, I see the sanctions that adopted by the EU, by America against Russia, like after occupying Ukraine or after the war in Ukraine, but this didn't happen with Israel. So
Mm.
I could see clear how they treated, like, different cases in a different ways. But I still see that some windows of hope that these countries uh, might take action when they see that Israel is really harming itself. I'm saying that not because I care about Israel, but I care about how the world see that they support this state and they must protect it from itself. Israel, of all measures that taken by their governments or the far right people, um, it's really harming itself. What I see is an apartheid state. This is how I see it. In a few months, in a few years, it's going to be apartheid state. The apartheid collapse in South Africa. So if you really care about Israel, you must protect Israel from itself and from all these policies that adopted by this far right
Mm.
government.
Ambassador, you talked about the future, the world that we're heading in this changing world order, as a lot of leaders, especially across the Western world, are calling this period in history. What do you make of U.S. President Donald Trump's recent announcement regarding the pledge of more than $5 billion for reconstruction and humanitarian efforts in Gaza? This relates to his new board of peace that he has created and that is set to convene tomorrow, the 19th. So that's 19th of February for those who will be watching this when it comes out, who are going to convene with several heads of states and state representatives. What do you make of that? Is that more hope? What's your opinion on that?
It's really very difficult. Um, the Palestinian the Palestinian Authority, the State of Palestine, actually welcomed the idea of the ceasefire, and welcomed the idea of the like the Board of Peace that mandated by the UN Security Council resolution 2803. This Board of Peace mandated
Mm.
to the ceasefire of Gaza and the situation in Gaza. I mean, what we see now that this Board of Peace is broadened to a different levels. For my for my country's position about this, as I said, we support the peace, the Board of Peace, when with its own mandate that's supported by the UN Security Council.
Okay.
The enlargement and the expanding of many countries. This is something that like as every country in the world, especially here in Europe, um, they didn't engage. Or I only heard about Italy will be a observer state. Let's see, let's wait tomorrow and see how this will work. The idea of having a different body than the United
Mm.
Nations, with with a system that built over the years based on the international law,
Mm.
to have such a board um, that will take a different mandate.
Mm.
I only can take about the UN mandate of this Board of Peace. Other than this, because I don't have information, I don't have idea about what's going to be for the future of
So
this board.
at the moment, you're skeptical of that initiative.
I'm not skeptical about this because what the part that is mandated by the UN Security Council, definitely we agree with,
Okay.
because this is an official position of the State of Palestine. Other than this, I mean, we didn't receive an invite, so we don't know many about it. It's just a matter of readings
Mm.
about our own readings about here and from here and there. But officially, we didn't receive an invite. However, Israel received an invitation, and there will be a representative of Israel to the Board of Peace.
Mm.
So, I mean, it's unclear for us for the minute how this, like, Board of Peace will implement. What we as a Palestinian really care about is to see that the the mandate for the Board of Peace, for the ceasefire in Gaza, for the rebuilding of Gaza, for the humanitarian aid in Gaza, to see this implemented, and the people of Gaza endure like a real ceasefire to end this war. And at the end of the day, it's a must that the occupation must end. This is the main aim and goal for any Palestinians. We need this occupation and this colonization to end.
You talked about the West Bank there. I want to move on to that topic. Last October, the Knesset passed a non-binding resolution supporting annexation of the West Bank. While symbolic, it does follow Israel's existing control of approximately 60% of the West Bank. You might have a take on that, but that's according to the Oslo Accords under Area C. And the already existing at the moment presence of 700,000 Israeli settlers, approximately, I think 250,000 around East Jerusalem. In this context, you said the situation in the West Bank is more dangerous. What leverage does the Palestinian Authority, what the Palestinian people have to halt the expansion of these settlements, which are illegal under international law?
Listen, I mean, on a personal level, like, for the Palestinian who live in the West Bank, I mean, we need to work on our belief that we belong to this land, and to be, like, to be steadfast for our rights, and to be strongly, I mean, believe that we deeply rooted in this land. You need to stay in your land. You need to stay in your home. You don't need to give up your rights for any reason. This is my homeland. This is my home. This is the very simple way that the Palestinian can do. But with all the policies,
in the face of
this is what I'm
backed by the IDF.
By yourself facing the occupation, I mean, this is the only way that you can do. What we can do is that using our international relations, like, with like, use diplomacy, use the relations. I mean, our relations with the international community. We grounded our rights in international law, and we have a right, and we have a just cause, and the international community support this right. We cannot stand by ourselves. We cannot face the Israeli oppression, colonization by ourselves. We are backed by the Arab League, the OIC, the Islamic organization, and the international community, who believe that the Palestinian fully have the right of self-determination. As I said, like, in a very simple way, the Palestinian could just be deeply rooted with not to leave his land. I mean, we are I'm not saying we are weak. No, we are strong because we have a just cause, and we have a right. But we cannot face Israel by ourselves. We need the support of international community. And if we see this support is really faded by new norms that will be created in the world, this is a big dangerous. But the 7 million, even more than 7 million, live in Palestine between the river to the sea. They have a right. You cannot just, they will never disappear. And we are there, and we belong there. And we will never give up. And I repeat these words. It's not a words, it's a belief. This is how we believe in our cause. And this is the only way that we have. Now you see 2 million Palestinians live in Gaza under this miserable life, and they don't want to leave. They want to stay. You know that when they open Rafah crossing, there are tens of Palestinians, because Israel didn't allow more than a few tens of people to come. But there are 80,000 Palestinians registered to be coming back to Gaza, even though they don't know if they will if they will have their house, or if they will have a place to live over there, or if they will have a normal life to live. But they wanted to come back because this is our land. This is our strength, is that we belong to Palestine. This is our homeland.
Talking about the danger of this changing international order and the system, and you mentioned there how it can get worse. Will it get worse? Are we going to get to a point where Palestinians in the West Bank especially are going to see that the only way to achieve this goal of independence, this right to self-determination, will be through the only option that they have left, which is through violence, through uprising? Are we going to see more of that in the years to come? And if so, are you going to adopt a position to convince these younger generations not to do so? What are the other options? What are you faced with? What are you gonna do?
I think what happened in Gaza, it's a big lesson for the Palestinians. I'm not saying that armed resistance is the solution or is not the solution, but I remember that even since I arrived in Ireland, during our meetings with all the officials here, we warned them that the situation in Gaza will explode one day. That doesn't mean that you support or you don't support, but the explosion is coming. And the West Bank, the explosion is coming. It's not a matter what's right and what's wrong. When your right is being taken and you're humiliated, definitely many people will think in different ways. And you will find some people think about that we need to defend in a different way. I'm not going to say that I encourage young generation what kind of actions, because young generations, they don't need someone to tell them what to do. They will do what young people, they always wanted to do the thing that they wanted to do. You cannot just control it. So we just give this message to the whole world that there must be a move to stop the Israeli violations of the rights of the Palestinians. If there will no stop for this, definitely there will be another explosion in the West Bank. And I don't think the international community wanted to see that. And one thing to keep in your mind, that the Palestinian young generation and older generations will never leave their land, will never leave their homeland and their rights of their homeland.
Since 2006, Palestinian governance has been divided. We've had Hamas in Gaza and the PA in the West Bank. Hamas has signaled some sort of willingness to step down in Gaza under certain peace frameworks, while seemingly President Abbas's popularity has been in decline over the past 20 years. Do you agree with that? Do you believe that Palestinian leadership is divided? And if so, how can unity be restored to strengthen Palestinian political agency and attempts to independence?
I will tell you something. You said something that I don't agree with. I mean, the President Mahmoud Abbas, when he came into, to be the president of the state of Palestine, he was elected. Yes, there was no election since then, but I mean, if the majority of the Palestinian people, they didn't support the Palestinian Authority, you will see it that it's not there, but still there. After since 2006, the Palestinian leadership, the Palestinian Authority, still representing officially the state of Palestine. So I don't want to question this. Yes, there is division. There are many initiatives around the world, the Egyptians, they invest hugely over this unity. China, Russia, other Saudi Arabia, other countries they invest in the Palestinian unity. There is something in the middle is going wrong. Why the Palestinians, they are not coming together? I mean, my big question always, like, yes, we can disagree on certain issues, but we will never disagree on Palestine. So all these factions think about Palestine, about liberation, about freedom. Maybe they disagree on the path or the way. Maybe there is something wrong in all the factions that they couldn't come together. Maybe there is external factor that they don't want the Palestinian to come together, and they invest of not having the Palestinian come together. Sometimes we can say this clearly, sometimes you cannot just say it openly, but many Palestinians know where is the right and where is the wrong in this. I wish that we will avoid all the indifferences between the Palestinian factions, and we come together, because Palestine is bigger. And I know that Palestine in every Palestinian faction is bigger than anything. I hope that they will put aside the indifferences and they come together. We need this unity more than ever to come together.
Do you think today, in the current context as things are, that now today there is a bigger chance than there has been in the past 20 years of that happening?
Yes and no. I mean, I think that the Palestinian factions altogether, they think that it's a must, and our people need this unity more than ever. I still find that it's still far away, but to be honest, any Palestinian want to see all the Palestinians come together, because I said Palestine is bigger than any one of us.
The Palestinian Authority officially supports a two-state solution, but major obstacles obviously remain: settlement expansion, security coordination, political division, as we mentioned. What do you see as the single greatest obstacle to achieving a two-state solution, and how do you believe that can be overcome?
Israel and the Israeli occupation. They don't want to see any Palestinian state, and all these policies and measures taken all over the years since 1995, beginning from the killing of Ishaq Rabin, the one who made Oslo, the one he agreed and commit to the peaceful agreement with the Palestinians. They killed him, and they killed Oslo agreement since then. We tried over the years to keep this and to keep our commitments, but it seems that the Israelis are the only obstacle for this.
I started this interview off by asking about your childhood and growing up in Gaza. You recalled the youth of a girl who was filled with a sense of hope for Palestine, who wanted a path to self-determination, to independence. If you could go back in time and talk to that girl, what would you tell her about her future? And similarly, what message would you give to young Palestinian girls and boys of today for their future?
Keep hope, because this is the only way that kept us on the land since 1948 and even before, since the partition of Palestine in 47 and even before. We belong there. When you ask me where is home, I will tell you Palestine. And since I was young, my children, my grandchildren, everybody's. When I ask my children about where are you from, they said, yeah, we are from Lid, where is my father was born. They will not say Gaza, and my mother from Gaza. So they will, the generation after generation, especially after the genocidal war in Gaza, going around the world with Palestinian community in diaspora, it strengthened their belonging to Palestine. No one will say, I am Chilean or Irish. They will say, but we are Palestinian Irish, we are Palestinian Chilean, we are Palestinian British, we are Palestinian. So even generation after generation, they will never give up their rights. And our homeland is Palestine, and the whole world must believe in this and take action. We accepted Palestine to be on 22% because we wanted to protect our our children. And the whole world is supporting Israel and the existence of Israel. And we wanted to support our generation, our children, to live in peace. And that's why we accepted that 22%, because we care about the future of our children. I will go back to every Palestinian. Keep your beliefs that you have a right and a just cause. Get your education very well, because this is what makes you different in this world. And this right will never die. This is how I do believe, and this is how I teach this to my children.
Ambassador, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sasha. Thank you very much.